Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is a beautiful Friday morning. It's as beautiful as I can see through blackout curtains. It's been a while since I've had a good yerba mate. Oh, you know what? That's what I've been missing. I've been forgetting to add my matcha. Anyways, this, as most of you know, I've been doing additional stuff than shaving this month, or than not shaving, which is an easy task to complete. All you have to do is not shave. And so I've been doing the workouts every morning and the stretching, and it's just a good feeling. Like 4 or 5 days into it, and you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, like I don't feel fat, right? Like you can just like look and you just see noticeable, like, bridge tones in your jaw and stuff, and just like, oh, look at it, it's working. See, I knew just a little extra. I just knew I was a little sedentary. And so for a small, like 10-minute workout and a 5-minute stretch routine and cutting carbohydrates out of my diet, like almost entirely. So just keeping it down to cruciferous vegetables, like no starches and just meat. So we are, that's doing good. Getting up earlier, going to bed earlier, getting things ready, got more energy, getting things done. Jordan Peterson once said this: it's amazing how productive a productive person can be. So like once you just think that it's like, wow, I was really productive today. And then if you just keep focusing on making good decisions and doing and having good habits and behavior, and striving to be more productive, you can be amazingly more productive. Like to the point that you're like, when you look at guys like Joe Rogan, you're like, how do you do all the stuff you do in a day? And it's like, just because he's a productive person. And it's astonishing how productive a productive person can be. So, and then that goes back to our Matthews principle. So, anyways, this morning we're going to discuss the local aldermen races. I know yesterday we talked about New York City, and the day before that we talked about the mayor's race, and on the county website now. Now, none of these are official results, but I mean, for the most part, like unless absentee ballots really just like jam in there, I don't think any of these races are going to turn, and I don't think the county just thinks that either. So the Ward 2, Joe Carey was the appointed alderman for that ward to fill Jason Panis's vacancy, and he was on the Republican and conservative line, and he was up against Rochelle Weisman, who had stepped down, but her name was still on the ballot, and she was on the Democratic line. And Joe still ran a pretty hearty campaign because he still had to beat the lever pullers, like I've discussed in the mayor's race, like the people that will just pull the lever. Like there's been public announcements, there's been all this stuff, like Jones hit every like house in the ward. You know what I mean? Everybody's aware that this lady isn't there, and there's still people that are just like, yeah, but Joe stopped by my house, but he's not a Democrat, so Democrat. And it's like, yeah, but Joe stopped by your house and told you that this lady's not running. There's been multiple newspaper articles that she stepped down. There's been just the amount of like, that's like saying I don't know that Donald Trump is the president. Like what, do you live under a rock? You live under a rock, and that you've got like earmuffs on, like Joe showed up at your door and you put your hands over your, like, I don't know, it's a little nuts. But so Joe had to continue to run his campaign, which was good because Joe's a very active guy. He's engaging with the community and stuff like that. So I think Joe was a good pick, and it's 38.5% for Weisman to 61.2% for Joe, with like a 0.2% write-in. What one person wrote in a name. There's one person in every ward that writes themselves in every year. Like the coroner's race. Like I was scrolling up and I saw the coroner's race, and there's 41 write-ins across the county. And I know there's probably a handful of like Luke Winkie followers that write his name in. You just know that's what the write-ins are. Ward 4, there was always one guy every year that wrote in his own name. All right, Ward 4. Alan. Oh, and by the way, Ward 2. We're still looking to get you on the show, though. Election's over, but you're engaging the public, and there's no reason why you couldn't come on the show, given that we are Olean's only news channel, right? And so people come here for political news. They come here for up-to-dates. They come up here for the real story. The things that people. Oh yeah, well they were doing this. They're building this statue. It's like, oh yeah. Well here's where all that. This is why that happened. It took 15 years of somebody moving pawns around. So, blah blah blah. Anyways, that's why people come here. Ward 4, Sonia McCall, the current incumbent, she took the landslide, being endorsed by both working families and the Democratic Party by 70.2% of the vote. And Alan J. Peters, a newcomer, he was on the school board a couple years ago. And looks like he got about 29.4% of the vote, Republican and conservative, which a lot of times it's I didn't, we were trying to get Jason on the show, well, Alan J, so everyone calls him Jason. His father's name is Alan, so it was one of those, he always went by Jason. We were trying to get Jason on the show. We kind of trailed off towards the end there just because I've got a lot of business stuff going on. The channel's kind of been taking a hit a little bit, but also the people that wanted to get on the show reached out to me. You know what I mean? There were some people that I reached out to get on the show, or I would hound here and there, but it started to peter off towards the end. No pun intended. And so I didn't hear back from Jason, but then again, I didn't get campaign flyers. I didn't see signs for him. Sonia's signs were everywhere. She was going door to door. I heard through the grapevine he was going door to door. He came door to door and messaged me for a signature for his petition for the Republicans, blah, blah, blah. So I knew he was running. It's one of those, I didn't see the presence though. He said he was doing a more traditional door knocking campaign, which does usually win elections, but I didn't. Usually people call me, like, who's this guy? Stop by my house. I'm the alderman. I'm the former alderman. But it's like when you step down from presidency and people still call you Mr. President, right? People still call me the alderman, because I know what's going on in our ward. I know what's going on in the city. People have questions. Those there's a couple of people that don't call anymore, but it's one of those there's still people that call me. They'll see me walk with my kids, and they'll be like, hey, Kevin, you still in politics? Yeah, I'm still in it. I'm not a politician. So, but it was one of those, I didn't hear grumblings about him. Everybody already knew who Sonia was, so most of the people that had already called me asked me from the previous race. And then, but like I said, a good 30% of the vote voted for Jason, and it's one of those, was it because of his door-knocking campaign, or was it because he pulled levers? You know what I mean? We're a pretty evenly split ward between Democrat and Republican. The Ward 6 race, I feel like Peterson was running against Robinson again, but maybe he didn't put in his petition this year. Oh, that's right. I think there's so many times he's gone. Peterson's gone up against him so many times that it was one of those. I just assumed he was, but. So Vernon was unopposed. Ward 6 taking 98.9% of the vote. Working Families and Democratic line. Dave Anastasia in Ward 7, the incumbent, 98.3% of the vote. Democratic and Working Families. And yeah, right there, both wards have 3 and 4 different write-ins. Yeah. Not much of a change on the council. You're not going to see literally no change on the council. You're going to see the appointed position essentially that was, so everything that you see today and you saw a month ago is what you're going to see going into the new year for the next 2 years. Well, for the next year, because then next year somebody else will be up. And then these positions that just took, and the only major change is going to be that the mayor is going to switch. But like I said, there's not a lot you do it. You know what I mean? Like you change administrations around, blah blah blah. But like more or less, it's like I haven't seen a candidate yet in my lifetime. I don't think that's like repealed laws. Like that's the thing I'm learning is that like my expectation of government is that like you don't fight a problem with laws. Sometimes it's you fight a problem outside, like because not all problems can be solved by government. And that's what people do. Oh, just run for government, and then I can take control of the situation. It's like that's just muscling your power around that you may not have. And then, but people just go with it because they're like, oh, they're elected officials. The government's supposed to do everything. Every cavity in my mouth is the government's fault, and it's their job to fix it. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You ate the candy. And you're giving your power to the government to be your dentist. Sorry. But anyways, gang. Yeah. Oh, man. It's truck traffic time. Yeah, that's your local alderman race, and, I was told the other day that I should look into the county budget, and because it is a hodgepodge of things that are going on. Where did that go? I guess I don't have it anymore. Anyways, there was 88 positions cut for the budget, and there's literally down to like 22 or 23 positions that were just not, that were like the only ones that had people in them. And in the last like week since the budget was presented, they've reshuffled. They're down to like 2 to 3 people, and they're positions that just can't be shuffled, and they're like home health care aides and stuff. They're the stuff that like the county does that there's other government programs for. From my conversation with different officials, they're different. It's stuff that like the county loses money on. Like they send in like a home health hospice aide to elderly people's homes to take care of them, and it's like these people already should have gone to a nursing home, or there's other government agencies that can take care of them, which there shouldn't be government agencies that take care of them. That's their job of like churches and non-for-profits that have no like funding from the government, because it's not the government's job. We just talked about that. So, but yeah, that's what we've got. Yeah, so they're, you can't just shuffle a nurse into a keyboard specialist position. So, or an aide or whatever. And so a lot of these, there's going to be like 3 jobs that are downsizing, which is fine because the government in general, like in our area, the economy is, ebbing and flowing, and we're not as, we're losing factories, and New York State is like withering. And then we've got Mandami in New York City that is like culminating the powers of big government, which withers an economy even further. And so we can't expect to have the same amount of government-funded jobs, but at the same time, we're not expecting the government to create jobs. Like, we need jobs in the government because the government has to run, but it's not the government's job to create jobs. It's not their job. It's not their job. It's just, it's not. I don't know how you can just I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. Like, it's not their job to create jobs. You also can't, like, force industries to create jobs. Well, they're leaving and it's their fault, and like we should punish them. It's like they're leaving because you're making it terrible for them to work or run a business here. And it's like, well, they're gonna lose jobs. Like they could run a business here and minimize down to 2 people out of 100, and you cannot force them to create jobs. So that's why the government shouldn't be involved in this stuff, because it's not their job. If they had their hands off, laissez-faire, little government promotes capitalism, which is a beautiful thing, because what it does is it promotes innovation and growth, and that the innovation and growth allows for businesses to thrive, and then they have to hire new people, and as the business is generating more money, that little bit of money that the government gets from tax expands. But as the government expands, it taxes more, and the number goes up, and what it does is it shrinks. Here we go. It shrinks that business, and now the business is starting to suffocate, and it has to lay people off, and then those people lose jobs, and then they go on the government dole, and then the government tax has to increase to cover that dole. And it's like, if the government just stayed out of it in the first place, there wouldn't be an issue. But So how do you backpedal? How do you backpedal? And I guess that's a big one for this morning, is how do you backpedal from this? And this is what I was kind of leaning on with the alderman races, and even pointing out the mayor's position this morning, that you're not going to change a lot. Like, you can't just create rules to do stuff, right? Well, you can, but it always ends up biting you in the butt, because it's like, oh, I have a headache. Well, instead of finding out what's causing my headache, I just take Tylenol, or I just take Advil, or I just take some kind of drug that has like 15 other side effects, and all of a sudden I got achy joints, and I can't sleep at night, and I'm breaking fevers, and it's like, well, then it's all caused by the thing that you just took to solve the one thing. And it's the little old lady who swallowed the fly. That's government, man. What it needs to do is it needs to sit back and collect its small percentage. It's like a market investor, man. You don't just get into it and, like, I mean, you can get into it to, like, day trade, but the safe bet where you're creating as few waves as possible is you just sit back and you collect your, like, 1% tax on the people to operate, and all you're doing is providing, like, police, fire, and roads. That's it. That's it, man. That's all you're doing. And like, you don't like, oh, well, the government's supposed to own this factory. It's like, nope, that's communism. That's socialism. We don't want any of that shit. Nope. No. Because it's not going to be innovative. They're gonna like mandate government copying what the other factory's doing is false competition, and it's just, yeah, overpriced, because, well, it always either run at a loss, or it'll be overpriced and it won't sell anything. And so, because government can't, because it tries to muscle its way in. You can't just make up rules like physics and how markets work. Like, you can sit there and change the rules on how we govern markets, but that doesn't change how markets work, because markets work innately how human nature works, and it's based on people's decision making and their choices and their incentive structures and stuff like that. You can manipulate incentive structures, but you cannot manipulate, like, market forces. And I just don't. Government, man. I almost want to rerun for alderman just so I can just keep spouting, like, nope, I'm putting forth a PL. Maybe we'll do a campaign on that. You don't have to be a part of government to make changes in government. I know the new mayor, the one who's coming in, said that she wants to bottle water. She said it on the show. And as a non-politician now, I mean, like, I could bring forth that, because the government's not supposed to run it. The government can't run it. The government shouldn't run it. Like, you shouldn't run a private bottling facility for bottling water. So, I mean, if she's incentivizing somebody to invest in a facility that buys Olean's potable water and bottle it and then sell it in cases and have palletizers and create factory work with factory space, and maybe they give them a pilot so they don't have to pay taxes, but they just created a bunch of jobs. Like, I get some of those incentive structures, right? Like, okay, you're taking a risk by sacrificing some of your tax base for 10 years to give somebody a leg up on starting a factory that creates a bunch of jobs. All right, it's a gray area, but I'll give it to you. But not for the government to do it under union wage jobs and stuff. We would always run at a loss leader, because there's no way that you're going to be able to pay prevailing wage or close to that to be able to, with bennies and the whole nine, to start a bottling facility. So, but as a private citizen, as a player in the game, I could go and say, hey, okay, she mentioned bottling water. I would like to take my resources and come up with a plan, whether it's incentivizing an outside entity to come in and put in a bottling facility, or it's somebody local, or it's myself, or whoever, right? But I don't have the time for that. So, but if that was the goal, like, you don't do that you don't have to be the mayor to do that, because the government isn't going to run it. So, you would like, as just the person with the idea, you would just come forward and just say, hey, listen, this is what I want to do. How can the city help me? But yeah, so that was my only picadillo. But yeah, so, like, yeah, if I want laws repealed, I should just, and any one of you out there can do this. Just find laws that you want repealed, bring them up to your alderman, bring them up to a alderman. Like, if I was alderman, you could bring them to me, and I'd be like, oh yeah, let's look at this. Okay, yeah, this does nothing. What is this? This is a dumb law. Let's repeal it. Just repeal it. For every law that goes on the books, like 5 should drop off, just because, like, we don't remove don't murder. And anyways, it's already overspoken by the state and the federal government, because those were like, essentially it's your 10 commandments at the highest level, and then everything below that is just like bureaucracy. Grass can only be 6 inches tall. So, all right, gang. Well, that was just drew you out another 5 minutes into my additional rant, but I thought I covered some good stuff. But we covered county budgets today. We we talked about the alderman races, and we talked about industry and government's role, like we do every day. But we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Maybe. It's Saturday. Tomorrow on Life22.